Hello, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast today. My name is Asphodel, and I am a self-help coach and motivator. And today I am joined with Elana Freeland. She has spoken about geoengineering, 5G, the Internet of Things, and many other technologies pushing towards a transhumanist future. She has also written two books. One is Chemtrails, HARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth, and the other is Under an Ionized Sky, From Chemtrails to Space Fence Lockdown. So, hello, Elana. How are you doing today?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Nice to have you here. So, we have a lot to talk about today, and there are many things that I think a lot of people don't really know about, and we should talk about these things. And I'm very glad that you're on here. So, who are you, and what do you do? And let's proceed from there.
I've been a writer for many years, and I was formerly a teacher, all the way from high school civics and history to Waldorf teaching, Rudolf Steiner method of teaching children so that they can have a childhood. And I, for now over 20 years, have been a ghostwriter. I write people's books for them for money. That's how I support myself. And then I do my own writing. And recently, I've been doing a lot with science. And because I do understand the issues, and the issues are very extremely important because our atmosphere is being used for many science uh, projects run by the military industrial intelligence complex.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about your listeners, but I certainly do not trust these people.
Mm-hmm.
I've done over 20 years of research into how these, particularly Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, the very big military contractors, how they run our wars, they run our politics in Washington. Their power is really almost insurmountable, except for the fact that if you can awaken the populace to the peril represented by these interests, uh, I have faith in the ability of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
human consciousness, to change things. And so I've been working very hard at this now for about 8 years. I started out just researching HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project up in Gakona, Alaska. I read the first book that came out on it in 1995 by Nick Begich and Gene Manning,
What was the
Angels.
year that it first started, HARP?
Well, they started HARP actually in the late 80s
Okay.
when they were building it into the 90s. But by 1995, when Nick and Gene Manning wrote their book, Angels Don't Play This Harp, the site was being built right in their backyard. And they knew they could look at it. They live in Alaska. And their book was extremely valuable to me. And also, I haven't mentioned this for a long time, but the first time that I noticed that I was under surveillance was while I was reading that book. A military helicopter hovered over my house for 5 minutes in my neighborhood and probably did my XY coordinates to keep an eye on me.
Wow.
And
Okay.
that was the paranoid 90s.
Mhm.
Phone tap, the whole thing happened from there on. And that's when I knew, oh, this is a very hot potato.
Mhm.
And no one knew about it. I mean, it was amazing that the book came out. It was really well done, had lots of footnotes, lots of research I could follow. So I had a whole file on HARP. And then I had a whole file on chemtrails,
Mhm.
which I kept hearing about on the internet and could see in the sky overhead. Though here I live in the Pacific Northwest, where it's often overcast, and not. We're famous for masses of rainforest rain, but much more it's overcast. So cloud watching is a bit challenging here, and it has to be done in a certain way, unlike in Southern California, for example, or out in the desert of Arizona. So anyway, I lived in England a while, and when I came back, I went to back to New Mexico, where I had gone to grad school. I went to grad school at St. John's College in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I chanced to meet one of the primaries of the chemtrails movement, the early bird scientist Clifford Carnicom. I met him not because of his work, but because it was serendipitous. And he and his wife and friends and I would often go to breakfast together of a week. And Clifford and I would end up hunkered down at the end of the table talking about his latest research. I had a biology background in undergraduate, and so I was very interested in what he was finding. And he was collecting the precipitation, snow, mist, not much rain there, but rain. And he was also scraping his HEPA filters and pulling detritus off of that. And he was examining them under large powered microscopes. Mm-hmm. And what he found were these fibers. And he experimented first on himself, of course, and probably his wife. And then we all began to take what he calls the red wine test, wherein we cleaned our teeth and our mouths very good, and then sloshed around a mouthful of wine, red wine, mostly for the tannins and the redness of it, so that we could see the fibers, which were really nano diameter, very, very thin, and so we needed them to be of color. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time I saw the fibers from my mouth.
Interesting.
And we then put it under a microscope. And yes, this was not gum tissue or things in my teeth or anything. This was something else. So he began doing a lot of experiments in different petri dishes with the fibers because they appeared to be alive. They wiggle in the dish that you, after you spit out what you have from your mouth into a clean dish, you'll see them move on their own motility. So then the next step was we did a blood test. I looked at my blood under the microscope, and there I watched some creature stick its head into my erythrocyte, my red blood cell, and suck the iron out of it and basically distort my nice round red blood cell became sort of deflated and changed shape. So we looked at the blood slides of as many people as we could gather among friends and people we met. And a lot of the blood a lot of the erythrocytes had already changed shape in many of the people. Mine actually didn't look too bad, but other people's looked very distorted. And that was of great concern. So I definitely was on board with using my research capabilities to and writing capabilities to write something. And that's about the time I left New Mexico, came back to the Northwest, and then I was contacted by a publisher, Adam Parfrey at Farrell House, for whom I had done some editing work when I was living in England. And he asked if I could write a book on chemtrails. Did I feel confident? And I did, because I had Clifford in my back pocket at that point. So I began researching. It took 2 years, and I wrote the first book, Chemtrails HARP, and that was published in 2014. And when you're doing research on national security issues, which this is, it is interesting that I found lots of documents and lots of patents and lots of military PowerPoints on the internet. I mean, but I could not go to a library and study this. There are no books on these things. The
Exactly.
only few books I found were Nick's book and and then a book by a guy named Smith. He wrote 2 books that had to do with this. Will Thomas was one of the first people, journalists writing on this issue. He does mostly hearsay, and so facts were rather spare, and I had to do a hunt and peck kind of thing, and that's what took 2 years, pulling together data, first of all, deciding whether it was disinfo, misinfo, or not,
Hmm.
and meanwhile checking everything against what Clifford was finding. So that book was written. The best thing about that book, for people who are thinking of buying either or book, the best thing about it is in chapter 2, I deconstruct Bernard Eastland's 1987 patent that led to HARP. And HARP was a real pivotal point for this atmospheric science that is now going on hot and heavy over our heads.
Hmm.
Sometimes we see things, sometimes we see weird spiraling, we hear loud, strange noises, we see things that immediately on the internet, everybody thinks it's a UFO. Everybody thinks it's
Yeah.
aliens.
Hmm.
Everybody jumps to conclusions without knowing the science, because the public is not being taught how the science works.
Right.
So that was sort of my challenge. Was it's sort of like a collage effort. I couldn't just make an outline and then just go through the bullet points and find books on it and great resources. And no, I had access to some things on the internet, but I had to put everything together. I had to contextualize it, and that's what really I think is my forte. And in this, because so far these books are the only ones out there. The other
Yeah, I'm actually going
chapter
to put
that
up an image of your book right now, your second one, Under an Ionized
okay, great.
Sky.
Great.
I have that
Uh,
up there for people who want to check that out.
the other great thing about the Chemtrails Heart book is the last chapter, chapter 8, is all about Clifford Clarnicom's what he's found about Morgellons, and health is your primary interest.
Hmm.
And Morgellons is extremely important to understand, that these pathogens, and I would include among the Morgellons, and I'll talk about what that is. I would include fungi as well, fungi that actually is from the upper atmosphere, that would be above the earth. And we are not accustomed to dealing with those fungi that are coming down from up in the above the troposphere. So in that chapter, I go through, I read about 100 papers that Clifford had written, all on the internet now, and with more at carnicominstitute.org. Um, I sort of simplified things and sort of organized it so that people could see what Morgellons is. It is definitely genetically engineered,
Hmm.
as was Lyme's, though, as well, of course, at Fort Detrick, Maryland. I mean, this is well known now. Um, Genetically engineered, and Clifford renamed it. Morgellons is not really a great name. It's from, I believe, the 1700s, when it was given to a condition, a skin condition. And often people will think that this is a skin condition because by the time you see it, it's very tiny
Hmm.
and it's in your body. Because you've breathed it in from the delivery system, which is the jets and the rockets. Uh, you see it come out the skin, and it forms a sort of streptococcus-looking crater, and then you'll see little tiny wires coming out that are, I believe, black, red, and
Hmm.
white, if I remember right, and those are all coded for different functions.
There are plenty
And
of videos online of that, so if anyone wants to see that, they can view some videos online.
yeah, it's real. It's real. But the thing that I noticed when Clifford was doing his petri dishes is that when he what he was trying to do was see what they would react to it and see if he could kill them. That was the main thing he was doing. So he would add different things to each dish, and when he did the electrolytes and put in a little electrodes into one petri dish, the fibers went nuts. They just
Hmm.
went nuts. And That's what people have found who have had the lesions with wires sticking out, is that if they go over to like make a piece of toast in this toaster oven, the closer they get to the electromagnetic implement, the wacko go these fibers. And that's very important to remember because of where we're going with this in a while, is that they are obviously engineered and programmed, because programming is very important here. This is a transceiver. It receives information and it transmits information. That's part of its engineering. And so the idea of many Morgellons people living who are now at the phase, and I'm not at that phase, because as I need to stress, we have all breathed in these pathogens that are piggybacking onto the heavy metals, all on a nano particle scale from the jets and rockets, because it may be up in the higher regions of the troposphere and up further, but eventually what doesn't turn with the centrifugal force of the Earth, and some of it will, and that's very important to my concept of the space fence, is it will fall to the Earth, and as it comes down, it gets swept up in our atmospheric winds, and we end up breathing these things.
Yes.
So when people ask me, are they doing the same thing in China and Russia? I have to say that, well, they are now. Initially, I don't think they were, but obviously, we're all breathing from the same envelope of air. And this is what makes this, if we were to take this to a human rights criminal court, how big would this be?
Yeah, it would be. I think it would be really big.
This is a crime beyond any that have been done, even the atomic bomb, because this is a complete control, what the military calls C4, command, control, communications, and cyber warfare. This is a C4 level takeover of our atmosphere. Okay, I want to be clear. That's the main point here.
Yes.
So, all right. So after, and in that book, another strength of that Chemtrails Heart book, the 2014 book, is that I go through all the hurricanes and earthquakes that we had then that were high profile, that were basically announced over the press in the entire world. That would go all the way from Katrina to Sandy to what happened in Haiti to Fukushima to Christchurch, New Zealand. I go through those and I make clear that they all seem to be HAARP generated.
Yes.
And HAARP is an ionospheric heater. I'm not going to go deeply into that now, but we have lots of ionospheric heaters. We had several before HAARP, but none of that kind of power and none with that steering mechanism that Bernard Eastland provided, and none with the ability to change the cyclotronic resonance of the ionosphere and eventually of our own atmosphere. So very, very crucial that. All right, so that's that book. Now, from that book, I learn a whole bunch of other stuff. And now I have to go and think about a whole other level. From that book, I was able to meet one of the tower erectors of the CIA. I mean, I could say Raytheon, but saying Raytheon is the same as saying the CIA. And Lockheed Martin, too. They're all CIA. So I met him through being on Coast to Coast one night, and he became my number one advisor all the way through the Space Fence book. He's the one who set me on the direction that, Elana, it's not just about the ionospheric heaters and the chemical trails. They're heading toward the SDI program. Well, I knew about the SDI program, Strategic Defense Initiative. That was back in the 80s with Reagan, Bush, and Cheney. And then it was moved to Clinton's presidency and renamed the Ballistic Missile Defense Program. And then it just disappeared. And I knew it had gone black. That means it's now top secret national security. But I had no idea that it would come back.
Hmm.
And it did come back with bells and whistles, because what they needed was for the atmosphere to be ionized. And what that basically means
And that's
is
like the key thing that you've written about, the ionized
the
atmosphere.
ionizing of the atmosphere
Yes.
makes it so that we have a wireless world.
Hmm.
That's what's behind the wireless world. It's not your cell phone. Personally, I don't own one. I don't see any reason I should carry a military weapon around with me so that they can track me every minute of the
Hmm.
day and listen to everything I do.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't own one. I have a landline. I'm very happy with that. I highly recommend to people, for other reasons, that they get rid of their cell phones. Absolutely. I'm absolutely
Hmm.
serious. Because the cell phone is used to pulse frequencies into our bodies and brains.
Hmm.
Now that this is an ionized atmosphere, and we are surrounded by the Internet of Things, the IoT, that includes your cell phone, the cell towers down the street, your washing machine that's talking to you, that's talking to the refrigerator,
It's
that's talking
crazy. It's crazy
car,
now.
that's talking to all that stuff. All
Yeah.
that cool stuff is all weapon. It's
Yeah.
all weapon. And it's all what I call, it's part of what I call the space fence lockdown, which is part of the title of the second book,
Yes.
where I'm slowly realizing how this wireless world is not just about greed and power. This wireless world is the very matrix. You remember the Matrix series,
Hmm. Yeah, the
the very
movies.
matrix by which we will be uploaded to the internet, our nervous systems, our brains, our bodies, our heart rate. Hey, heart attack, is it natural anymore? Maybe not. Brain aneurysm, is it natural anymore? Maybe not. Cancer, did you develop the cancer or did someone develop it for you?
Right.
The voices that come into your head when you're just sitting and your cell phone is near, or you're lying in bed getting ready to sleep, or you're awakened by a strange dream that you've never experienced before. Are these things just happening, or are we now being guinea pigged for a technology that is acting as one large brain?
Hmm.
One large brain. It isn't just the AI over at the D-Wave computer. It isn't one implement or another. It's all these implements working together. All of them working together. So when we come back to the transhumanism word and the concept of transhumanism, I used to wonder about it. I'd say, how are they going to do that? Are they going to wait for another generation to come along, such as the what's it called, the millennium generation,
Millennials.
yeah, millennials that everybody makes fun of? Uh,
Well, technically, I am one. It's two, but
yes,
yeah.
are they going to wait for another generation, and then are they going to call them in through a clinic? Are they
Yeah.
just going to vaccinate them until they're all clones, or how are they going to do this? It
It's
didn't
very
occur to
true.
me early on that they would use the environment, that they would manipulate and weaponize the environment,
Mhm.
and use the environment to change us,
Yes.
to
And that's
make us
something that I
into.
wanted to ask you here, because going back to like you mentioned earlier about the chemtrails, and this is this is a very conspiracy theory type of term that many people hear, and they hear that term and they don't think, well, there's no validity in a jet that passes over, that's spraying all these chemicals. That just doesn't make any sense, because people say it is contrails, and that's a very different thing. And if we want to get away from that conspiracy theory term, we could just say just geoengineering as the actual science backing and evidence that exists regarding what is being sprayed. And the interesting thing is, I was actually watching a another interview that you did, and it was on the topic, or it talked about the topic of chemtrails. And below the YouTube video, there was a description that YouTube calls the information pane providing topical context. And this was from Encyclopedia Britannica, and it had a little description of what contrails were. So people will watch that interview when you're talking about these things, and then they look at that and they go, oh, well, it's just this. This isn't all that bad. So it's kind of, they're blocking a lot of that information as well, because they don't want you to hear about that sort of information that's being out there. And that's happened to me plenty of times. I've seen it happen. I have my own content. It's YouTube has pretty much blocked a lot of my more controversial type of content as it is. But in reference to this geoengineering and these chemtrails, for people who don't know, for people who think that it's a conspiracy theory, exactly what is it that differentiates that between contrails, as well as what is exactly in these chemtrails that are causing harm to even ourselves, to our bodies and the earth?
Right. And thank you for that. Yes, the term chemtrails, and you probably remember this from if you've seen my talks, it is actually a term that was first used by the U.S. Naval Academy for their chemistry manuals for pilots that would be delivering what we are now experiencing. And these chemical manuals, they had across the front is a wonderful title. You can find it on the net. Chemtrails. They're the layers of the chemtrails. And then suddenly, the CIA Operation Mockingbird media, mainstream media in America, started using it as a conspiracy theory idea, and that's very clever of them. And so it is the same thing as geoengineering. When I say chemtrails, and I actually don't use the term anymore, but I was using it because of the first book is called Chemtrails HARP. And then the second book in the secondary title mentions chemtrails. I have no problem with the term. I never have. We used to spend a lot of time in the anti-geoengineering movement arguing over that term, but I didn't see any reason to, since it came from the government in the first place. So that, if I were to say, the difference between a chemtrail and a contrail, to my knowledge, there are no contrails anymore, because that would be simply a matter of altitude, ice factor, wind factor, and condensation, moisture content. And because the entire atmosphere has been so chemicalized by this program, which initially was called Project Cloverleaf. And it includes not just military jets, it includes commercial jets as well. And all the pilots of the commercial jets initially were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements when they signed up for this program. That was when it was pretty dangerous. Now, a lot of these deliveries are automated. And the reason we know that is we know what's in the JP8 fuel. It used to be JP8, JP4, now it's JP8. And in the JP8 fuel ingredients list that we are allowed to have. That's very important to know, because the fuel content is classified now for all commercial and all military jets. So we know some things that are in it. All right. We know we've been able to determine that there's a lot of aluminum.
Yes. And aluminum, for people who don't know, very high levels of aluminum found in the brain for people with Alzheimer's disease as well as autism.
Exactly.
Very, very high levels have been found in the brain.
And it's all on a nanoscale, and that's important. 1 nano equals 1/1000th of a meter. That's how tiny we're talking.
Wow, okay.
So the nanos is the name of the game now. And the most dangerous part of all this is its size.
Yes.
So, okay, aluminum, barium, strontium, titanium, lithium, cadmium.
Oh, lithium. Lithium is a drug to treat, is it bipolar disorder? Or,
Mhm.
okay, so,
It's psychotropic.
okay.
It's a psychotropic drug, yes. And our rockets are known to spew lithium over large population bases on their way into space in that parabola that they take going up the sounding rockets. So, so we know that all the fuel is chemicalized. And it goes through a process called pyrolysis in the engine chamber. And this is the combustion chamber. It is literally transformed when it comes out the other side. So then, for years in our anti geoengineering movement, we not only argued about whether we should use the term chemtrails, we also argued about what was actually what was the setup up there? Was it just being added to the fuel,
Mhm.
or were there ducts that were connected to big tanks of various chemicals that were being injected into the fuel, uh, into the engine chamber at various over various areas? Was it one formula for the entire United States, for example, or were they doing something different on the East Coast than they were on the West Coast? What was going on that way? Well, these are all conjectures, because if you try to do an FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act, to get more detail on this, you'll never hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
we do have a question here. I think it's a good one, and I'm sure there are many ways to do this. But what to you would be probably just a quick, the easiest, most efficient way? Jane asks, are there any good heavy metal detox?
Yes, and that's what everyone now is experimenting with, is heavy metal detox. And I would recommend that everyone do it, because it isn't like you breathed some heavy metal detox last week and you want to get that out. It's that you're breathing it every day.
Yes.
No matter where you are. You are breathing nanoparticles of heavy metals. And these heavy metals are conductive. Very important to understand how the transhumanism is being done. We now have trillions and trillions and trillions of nanoparticle heavy metals in us, and they're all conductive, which means that wireless technologies can have a field day with what's already in our bodies and brains, because the nanoparticle means it has no problem bypassing the blood-brain barrier, none whatsoever. So if you find your memory is not as good as it used to be, or you find you cannot concentrate on reading my book, which everyone tells me, Elana, I really try to read your book, but I like fall asleep. And so
I actually, to be honest, there were actually
signs, not that I'm a boring writer, but that it is very difficult to use our mental processes now, that they are filled with heavy metals. So I recommend, and he's not perfect, but I'm very fond of him, and he is researching as fast as he can go, Tony Pantalaresco. Tony Pantalaresco. I had a hard time saying his name for a long time. He has an engineering background, and he has Morgellons. And he is basically has been for several years now, been experimenting with ways to get primarily the nanoparticles out of his system, not to mention deal with the Morgellons. And he's having great success. He's looking at magnetism and its role in the magnetic field set up between the Internet of Things and our bodies, filled with these and electromagnetically conductive tiny nanos. So I do Tony's bath every week. I only do it once. I probably should do it twice.
And what is that exactly?
I take a bath of with 1 cup of Epsom salt, 1 cup of sea salt, and 1 cup of borax,
Okay.
straight from the laundry detergent helper,
Yes.
because borax has boron in it. And what that is for is coming down from what is in the fuel alone, and possibly a supplementary system on the jets and the rockets, is also polymers. And in a way, those are the fibers, because the outer layer of, as Clifford Carnicom proves, the outer layer of the Morgellons fiber is a polymer. It's a like a delivery capsule, and inside is the actual pathogen. But those polymers end up coating our skin, and often you can see it, if the lighting is right. You can see that there's sort of a sheen on your skin, and I'm finding that the pores of my body are now eliminating. And I'm older, right? So I'm thinking that maybe being older means you're going to go through more elimination, hopefully in benign ways that won't entail horrible lesions that are incredibly painful, horrible colonies of fibers in the scalp that really begin to take on the guise of your hair and your scalp. I mean, there are so many symptoms that we really should be letting the public know, so that they know what they have and they realize that going to a doctor won't do anything. There
Oh
are
yeah.
only a couple of physicians now, and I don't remember their names because they truthfully don't last long, who will accept Morgellons sufferers and help them, or attempt to help them.
Because
This
it's
is
not a recognized medical condition at all.
not at
It's
all.
you can't find anything about it.
They used to send people down the hall to the for a psych eval, and they called it I can't remember, paranoid cytosis. I can't remember the name,
Okay.
but it was really a put down to people and their symptoms and their ability to perceive their own symptoms and share that information with a physician. Remember those days when you actually could share your own perceptions with a physician, and they would take it into account because it's your body and they thought that might be of some value. Now it's very different. Of course, I haven't been to a doctor since I was 13. I studied Chinese medicine for 6 years. I've used it for raising 3 children, and 45 or 50 years now. So that's all I have to say to this person. I mean, Tony Pantalaresco, a doctor who is very much following this along with Lyme's, and the Morgellons similarity to Lyme
Oh, okay. To
is
Lyme
Dr.
disease.
Diedrich Klinghardt. He has a practice near me, and he's a wonderfully ethical person who is helping a lot of people, also helping children with autism
Hmm.
due to the aluminum. So
And that's
there
something
are,
else that a lot of people don't really buy into either, because it's been shown about the aluminum in the brain for autistic people as well as Alzheimer's, but people still deny that, even though there is a significant amount of evidence that that's been shown that.
yes, I know. I mean, in a way, all of this media friendly society, I don't think it's media friendly. I think it's media tyranny, because people somehow will believe something from an expert or someone who has landed in some sort of authoritative show or something, on media, in media, but not believe in their own perceptions
Yeah.
and their own experiences. And this is what we're going to have to get away from, because, as you know, the medical industry and big pharma do not make any money off of health. They only make money off of unhealth. And so now they have an additional weapon in their arsenal, other than our own ignorance, and having conditioned and programmed us for half a century that we really can't perceive our own symptoms, we can't perceive our own condition, and that we should be eating this, that, and the other, which all of which are now being disproven.
Hmm.
That we need to take an alternative route here, because they've become industry and they don't care about us,
Absolutely,
period.
because if they're, you know, United States, we're said to be like the greatest country, but there are so many people who are sick here who follow the traditional guidelines that are set out and see the doctors, and the cancer. There's so many more people with cancer, so many more people eating the unhealthy food and the fast foods and the junk foods and all of that variety of stuff. Whereas many other countries that may not be as developed, they could be much healthier in that regard because they have a much healthier system, a much healthier diet, and just overall, just healthier in general as opposed to us. And we're one of the most obese countries because of what we consume. And it's people don't really question that. People don't really want
Right.
to change how they are, and they don't see diet as like the key to being able to be healthy.
That's right. Yes, right. I mean, how many? I can't remember how many countries now. 60 some countries will not allow GMOs in. The problem with the GMO seed system, the Terminator seeds, is that they too travel on the wind, and they too can be moved from nation to nation over borders.
Mm.
So there are many ways that this geoengineering are going to control what the money that's being made and the money to be made through the poor. I mean, it's not new. The poor have always been the backs that the rich stand upon. It's always been thus. And now it's just that the poor are getting a little more aware. There is an awareness that's coming. It's sometimes glacially moving, I sometimes feel. But I think that what I bring to the table is this newest type of lockdown that will be used for the transhumanism. So now we've laid the groundwork that because of the chemical trails and the rocket detritus that comes out when a rocket is heading up into space. And there are many, many, many rockets going that you're not even reading about or hearing now.
Mm-hmm.
They are going a lot because they're going up there to not just lay chemicals and lay nanoparticles. They're also going up there to do readings on sensors. There are trillions of sensors have been released in the upper atmosphere as well in order to gather information that, again, they're transceivers as well. And we are breathing those in. We have those in our bodies. There are also nano-sized markers that are used for tracking people, for tracking populations. And those have been released as well. And they are very small. You might see them now and then. They look like glitter. But they're much smaller than the glitter you would buy at the dime store. So we've breathed those in too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, am I getting through to people here? We are now in a huge experiment, a global experiment of conductivity by having humans in general breathe in these nano-sized instruments is all I can, because a sensor doesn't do the same thing as a marker, doesn't do the same thing as a Morgellons pathogen, they're all doing something different. So this is what we're faced with. So we have many autoimmune diseases are popping up everywhere.
Yes, and there's no explanation for many of them.
Doctors think that they can, by diagnosing a fancy name, they have done anything to help us. They haven't, because all of these names are sort of blockades to understanding what is really causing these conditions. I would rather we called them conditions or even symptoms. So we have more and more autoimmune diseases because our immune system is being undermined. And if you wanted to change a human species to human species 2 from human species 1, what would be the first thing you'd have to think about? You'd have to undermine the immune system,
Mm.
because our immune system is so brilliant and so ancient, and it just kicks in. It's an intelligence of the body that is far beyond our own cognitive intelligence, and so all of these are, if the way I look at them is, they're just smashing us one after the other with these things in order to challenge and break down our immune system so that it will not help us.
Yeah, and that's what many people are. They're so afraid that their immune system's not going to do something, and you have so many ways to prevent diseases, to prevent sickness that are medically involved, such as with various vaccinations to prevent certain types of viruses and illnesses, even though probably some of them just aren't really all that serious to begin with. I mean, there's a lot of hype over it. It's like, oh, this is spreading because of people not, getting the vaccine for it. But it's because the immune system hasn't been trained to fight that illness in that individual, and also if it's not that serious of a condition anyway, it's people think they're going to die from it because they haven't been exposed to it in like 30 plus years. Was everyone back then was getting that disease all the time, and that wasn't a problem for the most part.
Right. But there's something more serious than that. If you force the body to be in the presence of and actually ingest, inhale something that the immune system has never seen before,
Yes.
then it will take a while for the immune system to do a readout on just what this is. Is it friendly? Is it an enemy? And to move into place. And that's the way it is with Morgellons.
Yes.
It's new for the immune system, and it has not been able to recognize it because the Morgellons, Clifford renamed it the cross-domain bacteria for a particular reason. It actually has all three kingdoms of nature in it. It is plant, animal, and mineral, to be brief.
Wow.
And it therefore crosses barriers that the immune system has grown accustomed to being separate. And so its perception, and I can speak that way about the immune system. I'm telling you seriously, it has great intelligence. The body, I believe, is much older than the consciousness that lives in the body. The body was prepared for millions of years. And that immune system is a big part of it. The vaccines are a real big problem now because I certainly never vaccinated my children, and I had to lie and pretend otherwise in ways that I was completely willing to break the law because I understood what these vaccines could do to my children, that they would weaken their ability to incarnate fully into their bodies. I'm a student of Rudolf Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
In Waldorf schools, we recommend to all parents, do not vaccinate. It weakens the incarnation. It undermines the immune system's strength. I mean, you're beating the body up with some disease that it doesn't have because you think that when that disease comes for you, if it does, it's really going to take you by storm. When really what you should be doing is strengthening the immune system with, as you said, good eating, good habits, an understanding of what health really is, that it's a balance. And so the fact that we're now getting children are being immunized, I consider it another delivery system. Mm-hmm. There's first the jets, second the rockets, third the GMOs. They too are a delivery system. Mm-hmm. And fourth would be the vaccines. They're all being piggybacked with I don't know what, in order to weaken the human vessel, because they are absolutely adamant about moving toward transhumanism.
Yes.
So all of these things are about weakening us. It's not a matter of, oh, they're greedy, they're going to make money any way they can. No, no, sorry, folks. Maybe at the bottom of the food chain of that corporation, like Monsanto and Bayer, maybe at the bottom. At the top, those people know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly where they want to take us. So let's look at paranoia as a sixth sense.
Hmm.
I certainly use paranoia. I'm still alive, and look what I'm writing. And and when I'm hit with electromagnetic weapons, which I am hit. I can bounce back because I know what's going on,
Yeah.
and I have that consciousness,
And most people
and
are oblivious.
I take very good care of myself.
Hmm.
And I'm very aware of good eating, good sleep habits, living like a warrior, not in some way that I can run to a doctor to take care of me, because I think those days are over.
Hmm.
They're way over. It's an industry now. So in if I were to look at the 5G and really say what I think it's going to be able to do, there's so many things it's able to do. First of all, the truth seems to be that you have had the 5G phased array antenna in your 4G phones all along. Uh, so you already have it in the 4G, which makes sense because now that 5G has gotten so much bad press, they obviously know that they're not going to sell as many 5G phones as
Okay.
they would have liked to.
And by the bad
So
press, do you mean a
they
lot of
pre
the studies with the cancer coming out and everything?
yes, so they
Yes.
pre-prepared by turning the 4G phone into a receiver a transmitter that will easily be communicated with by the 5G antennas.
Hmm.
Because in the 5G antennas that will be in all the neighborhoods, and people keep asking me, what do they look like? What do they look like? Is it this box? Is it that box? Is it this? Truthfully, yeah, you'll be able to tell some of them, but they're making them very small now, and they're putting them in places that you probably won't even notice them.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to waste much time on figuring out what on the pole is the 5G versus the 4G or the 2G. Doesn't matter. But the main thing is that those antennas also will have phased array antennas. And the phased array is very unique. Now, HARP is a phased array antenna on a very large scale, but you can make them very tiny. You can make them so that the way they work is completely different from the 2.4 gigahertz that all our phones are operating at now.
Hmm.
Is completely different from the towers, the cell phone towers that have all these little dishes on them. So if you read the second book, Under an Ionized Sky, you can go straight to the towers section and read about the towers, and it's pretty up to date. I have a 5G that, I don't know, 7 or 8 pages on 5G in
Wow.
there.
Okay.
But I've learned a lot more about 5G since then, because we who are obsessed with finding out as much as we can, like me, in this anti-geoengineering movement, in the anti-5G movement, in all the movements that really have to do with this one, uh, you know, they don't realize that this is all connected, because this is all space fence.
Okay. We have a question here. I want to thank you so much. Sprays E. Mickey is the person's name. Thank you so much for the super chat. So he has a question here. He's been commenting a lot, and he's very skeptical about a lot of the things that you're saying here. And he's asking, it says, ask if I can see the schematics of this 4G spy tech. So I guess he's primarily asking, what evidence is there then for the 5G being in the 4G phone or something along those
Oh,
lines?
of the phased array antenna
Yeah,
in it.
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah, that's straight from a video I don't have the name of, by a science guy who took one apart and discovered the phased array in there. I didn't call it spy, did I?
No,
I
you
called
didn't. You
it
didn't
the
say spy.
phased array antenna.
He was just
Um,
saying 4G spy tech.
yeah, well, all those phones can be used for spying. That's a piece of
Oh
cake.
yeah,
But
and that's even been documented with social media sites. They spy on you. They listen to you for advertising purposes to advertise more to you. So it will go on much further than just social media monitoring,
better,
phone
yeah.
monitoring.
And if this person and others are bent on understanding these things, it would be better to spend their time less on looking for the fly in the ointment and studying the ointment itself first. That would be what I'd recommend. I don't have much patience with those kinds of questions, actually. I wanted to say the DNA part. Let's move on to the DNA
Okay.
part of the 5G. Now, it's it, the 5G, because it's 30 to 300 gigahertz. And what you're using in a 4G phone is 2.4 gigs. So that gives you an idea of the jump we're about to take. 2.4 gigs,
Mm.
and a gig is a million. So that means there's a million cycles per second for every gig.
Mm-hmm.
So now from 30 to 300 gigahertz for the 5G, uh, that's the resonance factor that your brain and body are going to be experiencing when you are in that electromagnetic field made by that phone and the towers around you, or the antennas around you, the Internet of Things
Mm-hmm.
that's all resonating now to the
Yes.
same resonance as the 5G. So, need I say more? If you don't understand what resonance is, let's just call it sanity and health
Mm-hmm.
for simplicity's sake. We are extremely resonant beings, which is why we are extremely vulnerable.
Yes.
And we have been vulnerable to this technology since the light bulb. I mean, this is our reckoning now, and our childish desire to have toys made by big developers and scientists and producers, and to not and to feel, to have some sort of strange confidence that those with the knowledge will not lie to us, will not use us and abuse us. We need to basically grow up and not look for a Martin Luther King to save us.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to happen. So, to me, this is the good news about what's going on. That now our DNA is literally at risk from the environment.
Yes.
And so, to be clear on that, first of all, it always goes for the mitochondria. The mitochondria is what really envelops the DNA and protects it, and this shatters 30 to 300 gigahertz.
Yeah. The 5G.
Can't
Yeah.
see it, but it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
You're going through the TSA line at the airport. Now you're with terahertz. That
Ah. Okay.
these are terahertz. Just this side of the 5G technology of the millimeter wave. You're going through it. I've only been through it once. Otherwise, I always demand a pat down, and
Okay.
they make me wait 20 to 30 minutes, ignore me. And this last time, this man harassed me the whole time about how ridiculous I was
Wow.
to require this, and here, and talks to the rest of the line. Here, she could be going through the line now, but she's demanding a pat.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because those devices have been shown to cause a DNA damage as well. I mean, it's
Well,
very
they are
strong.
millimeter. This is the device of 5G.
Yeah.
This is 5G. They are millimeter waves, and they are terahertz waves. So, for regarding the DNA, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff here I could read to you, but I'm not going to. Just going to do the DNA. All right. So, not surprisingly, terahertz waves, and you might as well think 5G here.
Okay.
such as those at the TSA airport scanners, are categorized as non-ionizing and therefore not harmful. While it is true that terahertz photons cannot break chemical bonds or ionize atoms or molecules like higher energy photons can, like X-rays and UV rays, there are nonlinear resonant effects in devices like the terahertz imaging detection, the TID camera at the airports, can unzip double-stranded DNA. Thus, millions are daily subjected to terahertz lasers in TIDs at TSA checkpoints, supposedly to detect anything blocking the energy radiating from a body up to 16 feet away and determine its chemical composition.
Mm.
In other words, it's BS. This
Mhm.
whole thing of the TSA, this is not about terrorism. It
Oh,
never
yeah.
was about terrorism.
Yeah.
It is about, again, breaking down the human body DNA, just as our immune system is being purposely broken down, and just as we are all being weakened by GMO foods, and now they're going to have 27 vaccinations from infancy to 18 years old
Mhm.
to break us down the minute we get here.
Mhm.
So let's be clear on that. It is not a lack of research. It is not that they don't know better. It is not that they're into just getting more money. Someone in that food chain of all these delivery systems, including the jets, including the rockets, someone at the very top knows exactly what they
Mhm.
are doing.
Yes.
They are herding us like cattle
Mhm.
toward the transhumanism.
Yeah. And something to note about that as well. We shouldn't necessarily, for anyone watching this, we're not going to blame like all of the doctors and scientists who truly believe that they're trying to do something right. They're truly trying to help people. Like many doctors think that they're doing the right thing by trying to help people. It goes much further than just that. The education that they learn from, and then who writes that education, and just down the line much further than we would obviously even see or even know about.
And even science itself, which now depends upon a need to know basis,
Yes.
that's top security clearance, and compartmentalization, so that one scientist is working on something, never knows what the end product will be, but has to complete his project, which then goes to another one who knows a little more, has a more need to know basis clearance. And this has just destroyed science in America. And that would be from the National Security Act of 1947. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's how it is.
We got another question here from Shadow Foxy. Do you think that all new technology is detrimental to humanity?
Uh-oh, somebody's trying to set me up as a Luddite. Um, oh, no, no. Some of these technologies can be used for good.
Mm.
Let me take a really good example is HARP. The HARP is now used as a scalar weapon. Yes. But it could easily, all these ionospheric heaters could easily be used to take out and transform the radiation in our environment. Do you know that? I mean,
Yeah.
it's the intent behind the use of the technology. And one thing that should give everyone pause is that these technologies that we really just adore now, is it that you have to take every technology that comes into your purview that you have the money to buy? It's that kind of mentality is the same as the science mentality that says, well, let's not do any testing on 5G. Let's just run it and see what happens.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's
And
a
then,
big
of course,
experiment.
yeah, and then the medical and the big pharma industries will be thrilled because there'll be a lot of business. So if you look at the technologies we have, all the way from, let's just go from the TV
Mm.
to the computer. Now we have the iPhones, and which is a mini computer, and all of these. If you look at them, where were they first? Well, the military had all of those for one generation before they allowed us to have them.
Mm-hmm.
They worked out the kinks, they had their own objectives, they had their own goals, and then they let the commercial in on it. First, they let the military contractors in on it, so you can assume that Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and the rest of the top 10, they all had access to these technologies a good 20 years before we did. And then they let us have them. And people constantly think it's only about money. It's not about money. It's not just about money. It's about control over the planet.
Yes.
And that is exactly what is going on. And I recently wrote an essay that you can find. Catherine Austin Fitz, the investment analyst, she's a great fan of mine, and she always prints that essay at her site, Solari Report. And in that I talk about how all of this is about our desire to conquer space. And even Trump came out a couple of weeks ago and actually may even have used the word conquest. I can't remember, but it was certainly synonymous with conquest. And so if you want to conquer even your own, just your solar system, something small, and not the universe, sounds like we're with the X-Men here, then you're going to have to control the planet. And we mean full control.
Yes.
And that's what's going on. That's what I call full spectrum dominance. I took that term straight from the military, like I did chemtrails. And the full spectrum dominance is a doctrine, and it means literally full spectrum dominance. Not of soldiers, not of guns, everything.
Yes.
All of life, all of non-life, all of the planet. And as you can imagine, this amazing technology that uses the chemtrails and the contrails, whatever you want to call them, because there are to my knowledge, the only people producing contrails are tiny planes that can get that kind of altitude. But if I were to say, and I'm going to read you my list. If I were to say all that geoengineering is really about, and it isn't just that it's come out recently, they're just going public with it now. We've had it for over 20 years. They have been experimenting on our weather systems and taking them over for 20 years, and all the rest that I'm going to read. So the weather engineering is essential for power over a planet. I don't think I need to belabor that. The second operation that the military-industrial intelligence complex is running is the chemical electromagnetic operation. And the primary thing they're working on right now is plasma. And they're learning how to produce plasma, which is the fourth state of matter, but is really the first state of matter. And they're experimenting on that in the air. And one of the reasons they chose to have a cover story of global warming and climate change, they had to use the word climate change because they knew they were going to be experimenting with making things very cold as well, thanks to the solar minimum. They use those terms because they want to convince us that the reason there's warming is carbons, when the real reason there's warming is they're doing all these plasma experiments and they're ionizing our atmosphere straight from the ionosphere. And the ionospheric heaters are pumping away, and so that they can do all the plasma experiments they want. Just to be clear, that's the key to the warming aspect of our atmosphere. All right, number 3 operation, planetary and geophysical operations. And this is where you see that the very first principle of Soviet astronomer Nikolai Kardashev back in the 50s was to technological achievement of any civilization aspiring to a space age. The very first principle is full spectrum dominance, planetary control. The fourth operation, directed energy weapons, directed energy warfare operations, and, particle beams, etc., lasers now. Lasers have been weaponized big time. Number 5, surveillance and neural operations. That's artificial intelligence, that's nanotechnology, that's mind control, remote neural monitoring, that's electromagnetic targeting of populations and individuals, and that's 5G access to DNA.
Mm-hmm.
That's number 5. Number 6, biological transhumanism operations. Changing us through the wireless technology now that can go nuts in an ionized atmosphere, changing us into a hive mind. Uh, Remote genetic engineering of our DNA, remote, and replacing nature with virtual reality. That's the 6th operation. And the 7th and final is detection and obscuration of exotic propulsion technology. There are vessels of some sort hiding in the cloud cover now, able to produce plasma cloud cover themselves. And this is a very interesting, I've been invited this coming month, I'll be in LA giving 3 talks. And one of them is for MUFON, Orange County, which is a UFO organization. I've never been invited by a UFO organization, but I'm definitely going to talk about this 7th operation along with everything else we've touched upon during this time. So those 7 operations were foreseen by scientist Clifford Carnicom, and they still are the best way of organizing what geoengineering really is
Mm-hmm.
for the common person to understand just how much is going on up there so far. But now, with the coming of the 5G, it's going to be going on here as well, as our nervous systems and our biological bodies are now going to become probably the latest experimentation. They've certainly been targeting individuals for decades now. Many, I would say there's millions of people being targeted electromagnetically in their homes, in their places of work, on the street, who are experiencing torture and pain as their brains are probed, their bodies are probed, their heart is made to go arrhythmic. I mean, it's when you talk about human rights crimes, I'm awash.
Yeah.
There's so many. I wouldn't know which one to pick,
Yeah,
but
like you
I
even
would
hear
say
about like those smart meters in the home as well being used to
that's
influence people.
Internet of Things,
Yeah.
smart meters, IoT. The IoT is going to resonate us and prepare us for the DNA to be completely changed.
Mm.
And Anthony Patch, a friend of mine who does a lot on CERN, he's sort of a CERN expert on the internet. You might be interested in him. He says that they're even working on a 3-strand DNA, not 2-strand. So it may be that the human being, human 2, will actually have a very different kind of DNA. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I think you're very informative with this topic, and I think a lot of people have learned a lot here. So moving on to probably like the final segment here that we're going to discuss, and that's with all of this stuff coming out in the transhumanism and all these things that are happening that are completely out of our control. What would you say then? What could we possibly do to be able to? Obviously, I don't see any way to actually change any of this. This is a predestined thing. This is going to happen regardless of if we stand up or if we don't. But what are some ways that we can help ourselves? What are some ways we can get some of this information out? And how can we allow people to know what they can do to try to help themselves as much as they can?
Well, I think the first thing is to understand that this, I mean, really think about it. We're not able to jump into a jet and fly up there and do our own tests. We don't have those expensive instruments. We don't have access to, we have access to flight plans down here. We can go and watch the way these planes are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and obviously are not just delivering passengers, are not
Oh yeah.
just, you know.
That was something
So,
that I noticed a while ago. It's just you see a plane and hours later you see it the clouds behind it dissipate, or they make it in like a checkered pattern. You see two go this way, and then you see two go the other way at some point, and then it's a checkered pattern. And then it's cloudy for a couple days even after that. So yeah.
Yes. We we can study this, and if you think about it, it's to depend on our own perceptions and our own thinking now. Imagine that I'm not recommending people go to a university where you can study this. There is no university except one in Germany at Göttingen, which, by the way, was the place where the nuclear physicists really started Manhattan Project. Peter Kirby calls this geoengineering thing the second Manhattan Project, to give you the scope of the danger of what's going on now. So if there's no university you can go to and study this. There's only one program in the United States I know of where you can study plasma physics, and that's what all these guys are studying now that the atmosphere is so nicely ionized for them. So what we can do is study, and that's ironically my book on the space fence is the only thing that has been written so far. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. And who did it? Not even a plasma physicist. Biology background, smart, good researcher. I can think my way out of a paper bag. I can concentrate. I have a great memory. But everybody needs to join me in this. You've got to know. See, knowledge is power. Now, what did that mean? Does that mean that those who control knowledge have power? Yes, it does. It means that. But it also means that we can have power over our own lives if we only know what the enemy is and we know how it's working. You can't just do this because Elana said that you should. You can't do this because so-and-so said this. No, it has to be studied. And it doesn't have to be studied all in a big, suddenly, your whole life's taken over by it, like mine is. But you can read a little bit every night from the Under an Ionized Sky. I would highly recommend that book over the other one to be the first book, so that you can get the big picture and you understand what the towers near your house are doing, and what your cell phone. If you look in that tiny print manual that all the cell phones come with, you will find that it should never touch your head. You'll find things like that. So, the idea of consciousness beginning with study. Okay, next thing, your perception. Perceive your body. See what's going on. Ask yourself why the first time you see a symptom that concerns you, you want to make a doctor's appointment. What's that coming from? Where did you learn that? How long have you been doing that? How much has it really helped? All you have is a symptom at this point. And imagine that you could actually merge your symptom with some knowledge you picked up from my book or from a YouTube on the internet by someone who has a very similar symptom. I mean, we're going to have to search here. This is not going to be take a pill time. This is not get a shot and everything's better. This is experimental physics that we are now engaged in, because those who should be helping us and guiding us properly are really our enemies. They have proven to be so, not the ones who are just ignorant. I don't mean them. I mean the ones who are putting this technology out so that we have no guidance whatsoever, because it's national security. So we're on our own, and we can help each other. And I have learned a great deal from people. Next, diet. I have been following a macrobiotic diet since I was 21. I'm 71 now. That's 50 years. No doctors. And I know what symptoms mean because I've learned to read them. I do eat a diet that I try to keep in a range of the proper acid-alkaline ratio.
Okay, that's good.
And alkalinity is very important here because these Morgellons guys that are now swimming in my bloodstream and making neural mesh everywhere they go, by the way, they're very colony oriented. Um, these guys love acidity.
Hmm.
They love it. They hate alkalinity. So the diet has to, you can have pH paper in your bathroom that you pee on in order to see where you're at. I pretty much know because I've been doing this so long. And doesn't mean you can't have any fun. You can have fun with maybe, an ice cream once in a great while. Ice cream is probably one of the worst things you could possibly have. But you then the next day tighten your belt and get yourself back on track. And so you become self-responsible for your health. It's not a matter of comparing doctors anymore. They don't know anything about this.
Hmm.
And the ones who might know something, they're not going to talk. No way, because this is cuckoo land here.
Oh yeah.
And so we have to really accept that we live in a national security state that depends upon our ignorance and depends upon our lassitude, our inability to take care of ourselves, our laziness, our whininess, our expecting sympathy when we get sick, all of that. And you definitely don't want to call me because I don't get warm and fuzzy over that stuff. I'm definitely a soldier on the front lines trying to prepare people for what we have around us. You are absolutely right. We cannot stop this now. There are things that will change in this, but I'm not sure they're going to change for the better for us. But consciousness is, to me, yes, given that the body, you're taking care of it with the acid alkaline, you're not vaccinating, you're not going for the stupid flu shot, you're not going to submit to fear, but you're going to prepare yourself with knowledge. Then we can look at how we're going to build our consciousness. And consciousness is a free, it's a free range. And there are many. I'm a student of Rudolf Steiner, as I've said. I glean a great deal from this one teacher who is dead. I always like my gurus dead, not alive, so that I don't fall sway to their charisma. But I use the principles. I perceive through the lens of this great person who is now dead, and I'm able to use that for building my inner life, so that inside Elana is not an egomaniac, is not seeking attention, is not looking for sympathy, is not looking for someone to take care of her, but someone who is learning to stand on her strength of character and her integrity and her ability to retain an open mind so that I can see properly and with balance. So, however you build your inner life, it's not going to be through TV. I can promise you that. It's not going to be through your cell phone. I can promise you that. It's not going to be through a pill, through a regime. It is going to be through you making decisions about what is really going on here through your own perception and your own thinking, your own mentation that you have to claim for yourself, and try things out. See if it seems like it's holding water. If it doesn't, I'm the same way. If it's not holding water, bye. On to the next thing in order to get the mental pictures that I have in my mind of what is going on so that I'm not lying to you, so that I'm not misleading people. And now I'm writing a book, the third and last book, I hope, on synthetic biology, because we need to know where this ends in the transhumanism. It is going to come from the outside. Yes, various things have been done to us, particularly the GMOs, the vaccines, and then the stuff we're breathing. We are being prepared inwardly for the external transhumanizing of our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It will be the young who will be primarily targeted, as you can see now, all the young people already addicted to their cell phones.
Yeah, it's a very sad
It's
sight to
horrific,
see.
very perfect, and really study that and start making some assumptions. Try assumptions, and then those will possibly end up as principles. But you've got to build your confidence in yourself again, because our experts are not coming to our aid. They are either protecting their careers or possibly their families from like many of the doctors, naturopathic doctors who have died. It is a dangerous thing to say the truth these days in this fascist nation that we call a national security state. So let's support each other, but really become inquisitive, and don't let that lack of confidence that you never liked science in high school anyway stop you. If you have to read a paragraph in my book on your way to bed 5 times in order to really grasp something of what I'm saying, do it. It's only a paragraph, but who knows what that paragraph will lead to. I mean, it's all hands on deck now. This is a democratic movement. I expect great things of the consciousness, that we can get on the same frequency, a very similar frequency together, and maintain and hold that frequency. That becomes very powerful. And of course, this is what our masters do not want to happen.
Well, I think that's a very good closing words there. And if anyone has any questions, please ask them now, and we will take any questions that you have. One here from a little bit ago from Sammy that says, where can I reach out to this woman about more information on targeted individuals?
Yes, I have many articles on targeting, because targeting has to do with electromagnetics. I have a site called elanafreeland.com, and that people can go to. My webmistress and I keep working on it, but truthfully, I have no time to go to it and really develop it. But there's a lot there. And then if you're on Facebook, I do have 2 closed Facebook sites. And one is dedicated to all things electromagnetic, and that is Elana Freeland, Under an Ionized Sky.
Are these Facebook groups or pages, or what is it exactly?
It's a closed Facebook page, yeah. Okay. And you have to ask permission to join.
Okay, so it's a group, I believe, then, yeah. So you can look for that group.
Yeah, and then I have one more where just about everything else goes, including pedophilia and certain primary issues I'm extremely interested in, and that is Elana Freeland Sub Rosa America, and that's based on a series of novels I wrote called Sub Rosa America, about America since Kennedy's assassination, but they're really history books, and they're very dense. But anyway, you can also check into that.
Great. Okay, so you can certainly check that out there. So we have here, what did I see it? GMO makes food healthier, bigger, and makes quicker growth. Well, well, I've spoken about GMOs as well, and while it may be true, it'll grow quicker because it's genetically modified to withstand creatures and everything. It's not necessarily healthier, because a lot of the pesticides that are used are chelating agents. They get rid of a lot of the vital nutrients in it. So in that regard, they're probably not really healthier. They may...
Well, they're not natural.
Yeah.
They're genetically engineered. I mean...
It's a technology.
Where is the misunderstanding here? I only eat organic, except when I go to restaurants, and then I have a good time, and then the next day I eat really pure.
Yeah, because it's very hard to eat. Like it's pretty easy to buy organic foods, even though they are much more expensive, because
not
it's
much.
not. It depends.
I'm a member of a co-op though.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And it's with the restaurants. It is very hard because there aren't really, I don't know of any restaurants that advertise as organic. I'm sure there are some, but it's
in
very,
California.
Very hard. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Joel asks, is Kevin, is carbon heavier than oxygen? I'm not too sure about the science.
Your point?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that was about.
I'd need more information about why that's even pertinent.
I think
I
we
don't
might
deal
have
with
talked about
carbons.
carbon or something. You mentioned it.
I don't.
Maybe I
I
don't.
don't even. I don't even deign to give it a glance.
Okay.
It's disinformation.
Okay. Do you think that GMO foods could help countries struggling with starvation?
No, no, the health will go down the toilet.
Hmm. Yeah, and I certainly agree with that. I mean, while we discussed, you can probably yield more, and it is probably cheaper in some aspects. It's really not. It's like giving junk food to people who really need financial support to buy healthy food.
It's just like in this country, the junk food. It's all GMO, and look how fat people are getting from eating worse than nothing.
Mm, okay. Oh, Joe was asking about does it hold more heat than oxygen, the carbon over the oxygen?
Oh, that's a good question,
Okay.
and that I do not know.
Okay.
I do not know the answer.
All right. So I think it might have just been like a mis typing there or
Yeah, no,
misspelling.
that was a good question.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. If there's any other questions, please ask them now. And do you have any final words, Alana?
I said them.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been on an hour and a half. You're not going to keep me
Yeah.
anymore.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for tuning in here, everyone. I want to thank you for joining me today, Alana, and thank you so much for this wonderful educational topic. And you can certainly check out more of her website, alanafreeland.com. She mentioned the other links as well. And yeah, thank you
And the
so.
books can be purchased at Amazon. I mean,
Yes.
I assume people know that.
Yeah, yeah, you can certainly check out the books on Amazon as well. And you have the links to your books on your website, or you mentioned them on your website, I believe, or
Yes,
something. Okay.
yes.
So people can go there as well.
Including the Sub Rosa America series, which,
Oh, okay.
yeah, great history stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and I will catch you all later. Thank you again, Alana.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely.